Hello. In this presentation, I will be assessing the fragility of Bosnia and Herzegovina, and I will prove how it is a fragile state. For over a decade, Bosnia has been in political deterioration, and the country has been worsening more and more through the years, causing several political and economical instabilities, security threats by the Islam, fitting European and American interests, and Bosnia struggling to becoming a normal European state. Although troops have been helping the country, the political instabilities of the country are leaving Bosnia vulnerable, leaving people hopeless and in desperation for change. The country is now stuck in what was a brutal civil war that taught the world ethnic cleansing, and the Dayton Agreement that secured a peace is the result of two divisions in the country to two ethnic entities, the Republic of Srpska and the Federation of Nominal Muslims and Catholic Croats. Adding to this, there is a national layer of government, with its own ethnically based structure, causing numerous inequalities and conflicts among people of different ethnic groups. The Dayton Peace Accord was the catalyst of these instabilities, causing mainly weak political system and the crisis of its own war. Muslims then would represent a majority, but it is causing many conflicts as the Serbs are not willing to become a minority and are causing many fights and disputes, and therefore are willing for Bosnia to remain a decentralized country, wanting to become a dominant group without helping the country into progress. In the worst case, they want to vote for Serb independence from the rest of Bosnia, causing many conflicts. The atmosphere of the country is becoming worse than it was in 1991 and 1992. Ethnic divisions are more present more and more throughout the years. And in schools, children are separated clearly by their religion, such as Croats and Bosnian Muslims are separated in different floors of high schools. Institutions don't teach any knowledge in history, and conflicts and ignorance among children is happening more and more. This indeed qualifies Bosnia as a fragile state, as the definition states, a fragile state is a country in which the state institutions are weak or lack stability, and whose population suffer from extreme poverty, violence, or corruption. Due to the divisions mentioned above, Bosnia indeed has a weak government, which therefore creates a weaker economy and numerous consequences for the country, such as unemployment, poverty, and unsettlement among people. Due to this, there is an absence of power, meaning that there is no ability to affect change, and to positively affect the country into developing politically and economically. Furthermore, according to the Fragile State Index, or FSI, which assesses a state vulnerability to collapse, Bosnia's current fragility index is located within 71.3 FSI in 2018, though from 2006 from now, this index has been improving from a higher score of 88.5 to the current lowest in 2018 of 71.3, which is still pretty elevated for the country, and locates itself in the 95th ranking of 178 countries in the world. In contrast to this, some people think that the annual index, or FSI as mentioned before, ranking states according to their failings is illogical and may worsen the instability it seeks to describe. The ranking then becomes not accurate as most of these indexes are difficult to construct and calculate, as many studies have shown. Therefore, this ranking then becomes inaccurate and irrelevant. And as the term failed state also becomes vague, as no state is failed, but also has room for improvement. And it also discourages states and people from succeeding, which is overall a classist, demotivating, and inaccurate system of ranking. The most relevant issues in Bosnia within the factors that qualify a state as a fragile state, assessed by the Fund for Peace, are mainly factionalized elites, external intervention, and refugees and ADPs, which contribute to the state having this particular ranking. This is mainly projected as within citizens, as there is a clear division between citizens, and Bosnia possesses two different political entities. The government in Bosnia having a lot of control over the population and over the historic knowledge of the citizens as well. The country was also split into two ethnically based entities, due to the Dayton Agreement, which entraining the ethnic cleansing that occurred in the previous years by dividing the country into following groups. The Republika Srpska, which is mainly a Serb majority religion, and the Federation of Muslims, called also Bosniaks, as mentioned before. Adding to this, people from the country are immigrating to other countries due to the mentioned instabilities. Migration is also growing by a considerable amount in Bosnia, an apparent 350%, according to sources. This migration is illegal and is significantly increasing. People trying to cross the border between Croatia and Bosnia. Due to this signs of desperation, reportedly, during the past 9 months of this year, more than 600 illegal immigrants have been reported by crossing the border from Bosnia to Croatia, and experts are not sure for how long this problem will persist. It is not only reported that about 9,900 Bosnian Croats, Serbs, and Bosniaks are being displaced by inter-ethnic violence, human rights violations, and armed conflict during the 1992 to 1995 war. In the case of Bosnia, politics and culture affect and matter more than the degree of fragility, as Muslims would not passively concede Bosnia and Herzegovina partition and independence without a fight. Therefore, the political and cultural aspects come to frame. As for example, the upcoming elections are in difficulties, as the representatives from 3 different ethnic groups, as mentioned, are not equally seen, and therefore fights and inequalities within votants are happening again. Coming back to ranking states as weak or failed, while saying a state is failed is a vague and inaccurate word, the ranking of this can also be helpful as it triggers a debate about places that don't always get attention, such as the case of Bosnia, but that are indeed relevant to the world and politics. This also spreads awareness and provides of information to people, in order for those failed states to receive the help needed, hopefully, from other foreign countries. As this is not always the case, such as with Dr. Congo, that even though the state is in desperate need for help, other important countries are not sending the help needed and support to them, because they rather send it to more relevant countries in their opinion. But it's always a good way for countries in these conditions to be more recognized and to hopefully get some help to make any progress. Furthermore, the Failed States Index, or FSI, is beneficial for states in order to improve, and for other nations to hopefully send the help needed to them. On the other side, it may worsen the instability it seeks to describe. And as the article states, it is neither useful nor responsible to rank states according to their perceived failings, and becomes depressive for some countries to be classed based on their fragility and chances to fail. It also compares in an unfair way, saying which is worse or better, and is a classist way of comparing countries. In addition, it does not state where progress of this is made, and in which areas, and only focuses on the negative aspects of things. Finally, in the case of Switzerland, we should always be concerned about what is happening in the world, even if it doesn't affect us right immediately. As for example, this might affect us as well, as instability in a country generates more instability. In the case of migration, Switzerland could be the target of immigration from Bosnia. In this case, and also other parts of the world, as it's a more economically developed country and has more opportunities to offer to people. But could not always be beneficial, as it might generate other problems, such as violence. And the rates of unemployment would increase as well. And although Switzerland appears to be a very economically developed nation, the fragility of other states might have an impact on surrounding nations, including Switzerland too. The point to consider is that Switzerland also is also increasingly engaged in fragile countries and regions, making this involvement part of its international cooperation strategy in 2013 to 2016. In conclusion to this presentation, we can indeed say that Bosnia is a fragile state, but that has a lot of room for improvement in the near future if only the population gives a chance for improvement, which might also solve the instabilities of the country little by little. Thank you very much.